Don't knock over your alcohol on the way back.
Oh, it is recording.
It's recording.
Hello! Welcome.
To Booze and Booze.
Ooh.
Episode 2.
Deuce.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Joel.
Are you?
This time, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this week we went with Ghosts of War, Joel's topic of choice. So a couple stories for you today. But first I wanted to kind of tell you about something that happened last week after our last episode, because it was pretty funny. Remember when we went to bed? We go to bed, we pull the sheets up, and we've got this nice heavy comforter, feet completely covered, sheets all the way over, and we're laying there, and all of a sudden I feel this blast of cold air on my feet. Like, it's a blast. It's forceful.
I think she was just trying to play with me because my foot was right next to hers.
No, I seriously felt it. It freaked me out.
Yeah.
Never felt anything like that before.
So I had to sing lullabies to her until she fell back asleep.
Don't. He's sweet. I wouldn't,
Wouldn't what?
I don't think you're getting any record contracts.
No?
No.
If we get famous. So do you want to go first?
I don't know. I'm all spooked. I've been listening to that podcast all day, so Haley recommended that podcast.
Shouts out Haley.
Shout out Haley. It's called Two Girls, One Ghost, and I listen to it on Spotify, but I guess they have it on a couple different, I don't know, apps, programs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're called. I'm not good with that stuff, but it's these two girls, Sabrina and Corinne, and they're old friends, and they just tell each other ghost stories, and they'll read stories that people send in, and they're really goofy, so they make me laugh a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's when you're listening to them by yourself, they kind of speak you out a little bit. So I'm a little.
I hear you screaming in the bathrooms in the morning when you're listening to them.
Little wound up from listening to Two Girls, One Ghost. Highly recommend. Go check them out if you want to. But we got some good stories today. We wanted to do war stories. I was looking a little more recent war stories. So like, I was looking at Korea and Vietnam and Gulf and Afghanistan and all that. Because you hear about World War II and Civil War all the time, but I wanted something a little more current-ish, if you can call Korea current and World War II not. So there's some good stuff from Vietnam. I highly recommend you go out and look up stories about the tunnel rats and the tunnels and how haunted they are, because they're freaking creepy stories.
Man.
I was like, this is good stuff.
We're gonna have to do a vlog of us going through a tunnel.
What's a vlog?
A video blog.
Oh. I'll just keep drinking.
This is only the second video. Take it easy.
Yeah. Plus, okay. I forgot where I was going with that thought already. Never mind. I started early with the tequila. We're going with tequila again tonight. Good choices. You want to hear my story?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, for me, a big fear are shadow people. They freak me out. I cannot deal with shadow people in movies. When people have video clips of seeing shadow people in their backyard, I kind of feel like I'm going to pee my pants and throw up at the same time.
It's just shadows.
It's just shadows. It's like these things that just dart off into the distance. So I found a story that's shadow people. And you'll have to bear with me because I wrote this down because I didn't have time to memorize it. I am a full-time...
Slacker.
I'm a full-time grad student. Fuck you, man.
AKA.
And I didn't have time. So I wrote it down, but I've also been drinking, so I'm not sure how well this is going to go.
We're doing it all one take.
Woohoo!
Alright,
so this was posted by Alpha Bravo Charlie 11 on No Sleep Reddit. It was posted about 4 years ago, and it's his story from Afghanistan. So he and, I don't know, crew, what are they called?
Battalion,
sure. There's 8 of them, and they're sent out to near this village. Shut up, I don't know these things.
Go ahead.
They're sent out to the mountains in and around this village because they're trying to find what they call a single codename fighter. which I guess means he's somebody important and he's been in the Taliban for a while.
Or something.
What, the single codename fighter?
Yeah.
No, he's like an infidel. No, that's not the right. We're the infidels. I don't know. So he's somebody that's been in the Taliban for a while because like now they use 2 names like Purple Monkey and Stinky Snake or something.
Stepping up their game.
Yeah. So, but this was a single codename guy. So this means he's important. So they're sent out to these mountains to try and do some reconnaissance on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they get out there and they set up around this village. And they're out there for about 2 days, but they're having a lot of trouble getting back to like the main base. They can't radio back.
Okay.
The radio's just not getting good signal. And they finally, on day 2, towards the end of the day, it's like dusk. They've managed to establish some kind of communication. They're pretty confident that they've been able to identify this guy. And then the guy that's running the radio says, "Oh crap, I think I've been spotted. I saw this guy in like white robes running out, and I think he saw us." So they start freaking out, and they're like, "Shit! Well, we got our signal back. Pack up and get the fuck out of there, right?" So they start packing up. And where am I?
I don't know. You wouldn't let me read it.
Because I don't want to spoil it. Okay, get away. Okay, so Op says that they're moving out, and he's at the back because he's like a senior guy, so the senior guy's always at the back watching, right? And they're running, and that's when he sees something white kind of moving in the distance. And he's thinking, oh god, they're following us. And he tells his battalion or crew or troop or whatever it is. And somebody up front goes, well, I just saw somebody white up in white robes out in front of us. So they're really freaking out because they think there's somebody behind them and somebody in front. And so they're hightailing it. They've got all their gear. They're trying to move through it. It's dark. It's getting dark. So finally, darkness falls, and they all put on their night vision goggles.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how everything's like green?
For sure.
It's really weird. So they're moving along, and Op, the original poster's got his night vision goggles on, and he says that he keeps seeing these glowing eyes, but they're off to the side. So every time he shifts his vision, they disappear, and then they'll shift over here. So he'll shift back, and then they'll shift over here. So they're like,
even if
they're
it was
just
an animal, I'd be scared.
tracking around him. Well, yeah, and you're already nervous. The whole team is just kind of freaking out, thinking that they're about to be ambushed. They've got their rifles ready to go. They're running like,
Is that
oh
how
shit.
you hold a rifle?
Yes. They're like, fuck man. And it's dark and you can't see anything. Everything's green. So you're just fucking booking it out there, and you're hoping that nobody gets really nervous at you and turns around and is like, pow! Right? So he's seeing these eyes, and then he's freaking out. And he says that he starts to feel this really kind of heavy sense. And it starts to feel, it's like heavy but sweet, was how he described it. Sweet.
How's that?
I don't know. That's how he described it.
Maybe like comforting almost.
He did, I forgot to mention, he did say that when they were first packing up and moving away, and he'd first seen that white robe guy moving around behind them, that he'd gotten this sense of, it felt like something was pulling him back and telling him that it was going to be really, everything will be okay. If you just come back this way, it's going to be fine, and everything will be calm and relaxing and safe. And he goes, inside of my head, my brain was just screaming at me, don't listen to this feeling. You need to go. You need to move. So now,
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but now he's starting to get that heavy, sweet feeling. I don't know what sweet means, but it's heavy. So he's scared. So, So he says that this really loud sound comes in, and it sounds like when a plane's about to take off, where it builds and builds and gets louder and louder. And it's this really loud, high-pitched hum. And it's so loud, the whole troop, crew, battalion, whatever, I'm just going to call it every time, they have to start yelling over their communications to be able to hear each other, all of them. So everybody hears this loud noise. It's
they
not
didn't know
just
what it was?
No, they never figured out what it was. And so they're all, of course, just fucking panicking. And then as they're moving along, I think they just decide they think that they're being followed, right? So they decide to do it's stop, look, listen, smell. So they duck into like the side of this mountain, and they sit there for like 10 minutes and try and figure out who's following them, right? So they sit there and they're like, oh, there's nothing. And they said that everything got really quiet and still, like no bugs, no wind, just absolute silence, like your ears have been plugged with cotton and you can't hear anything anymore kind of silence, and just still and that kind of oppressive. This gave me I was like, well, I'm claustrophobic, and it just made me feel like you're just stuck in this tight space and you can't escape, and you can feel it crushing in on you.
I think we've
and
all
you're
had
scared.
that feeling before too.
And in the dark, and you're just like, nope, nope. And so they sit there for like 10 minutes with this, and they finally decide, okay, there's nobody's coming right now. We're not going to be ambushed. So they start moving again, and that's when Op sees in his night vision, it looks like there's a man that's traveling kind of parallel to them, but parallel in a way that he's going to intersect them. And he says that the man looks like he's kind of melting into the rocks, like it's not natural. He's just floating through and over and
like fog almost just rolling across.
Yeah, like it's gonna intersect them, and he's freaking out. And so Op moves his scope to look directly at this guy, and the person eyes are staring straight back at Op. He said it's these glowing eyes just looking right at him, and he's going, there's no way that this person should have been able to see us. It's pitch black. We've got our night vision on. They're in that kind of camo that's supposed to make them blend in anyway, right? Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be able to see them, and this person's clearly not wearing night vision, but is looking right at him. And then all of a sudden, the whole crew sees like lights off in the distance, but they know that these are real lights, so it's like civilians or somebody that's out there, and it's just lights floating around. So they fucking book it out of there because they don't want to get caught, right? So they're making it back to their rendezvous point or their safe point or whatever the fuck it's called, I don't know. And they're booking it out of there, and this thing stops chasing them, and they don't know why, so they just keep going, and they get back to their rendezvous point, and they're all sitting there talking about like the weird shit that just happened. And Op's asking around, and nobody else saw this guy. It was just him. So he's already like, okay, am I crazy? What's going on? Well, I guess a few days later, they sent a whole nother crew out to the village to do like a raid to try and catch that single codename Taliban guy.
Yeah.
But when they get there, the village is abandoned, and on their way back, they come across just all these bodies that have been completely shredded, and there's pieces of them everywhere. They're just destroyed, and there's blood. He said that it was described as just a ridiculous amount of blood, like way more blood than the number of bodies that were there, so they think that there should have been more bodies. And he thinks that whatever that he saw out there that night chose to go after those lights, the people with the lights, instead of him and his group. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say why he thinks that, but that's like the end of his story. But that freaked me out. But it's not like, so when I was reading this, I did a little bit of research, and apparently this is really, really common story from soldiers coming back from Afghanistan. You hear it all over the place. Guys are like, yeah, there were these shadow people that would just stand right outside, but you would try and look at them, and there's no heat signal, but you could see them, or they'd throw shit at you, but there's no physical body there, and you can't detect them, and you can't shoot them like you would shoot at them, and you'd go out and find your bullets, but no bodies. Or sometimes they would say that there'd be shadow figures like actually in their encampment, sitting up by their guns. They could see them, like the whole, just go and look it up. There are tons of stories of this. So this is really, really common in Afghanistan. It freaked me out.
If I was enlisted, I'd just shoot myself in the leg. I'm not putting up with that.
No, like, how do you, like, because, okay, so you can fight people. That's scary enough, but when it's something that isn't human, isn't
who would you call?
Ghostbusters? Like, what? Who do you call for something like that? You can't call back to home base like, hey, there's some weird dude just floating out in the rocks here. Can you save us?
Like, who gave you too much morphine?
Like, no, fuck. I don't know. But
I'm not game for that.
And there are just loads of these stories, and sometimes that you have multiple witnesses that will corroborate each other. Shut up! You spilled it, man.
I didn't spill shit. It's on you, baby.
So, yeah, shadow people out in Afghanistan. Check it out. It's creepy shit. I don't. I had nightmares about this already.
If you encountered like a shadow person, it just comes up to you in the house. Would you try to fight it? What do you think you'd do? Just lick it off.
I don't want to lick my arm on camera.
Should do it any other time.
Yeah, hell yeah. When nobody's looking at me, I'm gonna go for it. Waste not. But okay, so shadow people. I don't have, like, what is it? Fight or flight?
Yeah.
I don't do that. Do you ever fainting goats? You've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like,
That's what you do?
fainting. I think I would probably.
No, bullshit. You throw whoever's in front of you to that supernatural being and you book it.
Like the
I
story.
don't say, yeah, like that
But I did it with my mom.
Uh-huh.
So, years and years ago, Halloween. So it was like this amusement park was a water park with roller coaster rides, and they would do this. It's called Why Not Lake in Columbus, and they would do like a haunted thing every Halloween. And my mom, my sister, and I went really early on in the season, so we're going through, and then you hit the point where it's like the pavilions, the picnic pavilions, and they just have plastic sheets hanging up. And we're going through it thinking that they're just still setting up because it's so early. And we might have gone the first weekend or something. And we're walking through. And then all of a sudden, I'm at the back of the group. It's like me, my sister, my mom. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hear a chainsaw. Must have been like a cat. You know when a cat can be scared? Like,
It just hits everything.
It scared the fuck out of me, and I shoved those two out of the way and got the fuck out of there. I left
You're a
my
great
mom
daughter,
for dead. She still does not let me live in.
I wouldn't.
That's such a good story.
I hope your kids do the same thing to you.
So funny. I don't feel bad. Man, I was saving my own ass.
Survival of the fittest, I guess.
What would you do if you saw like a shadow figure?
I don't know. It's hard to say, but if I was trapped, I'd probably just fight. I wouldn't just scream, even if there's nothing to fight.
Hear my chair squeaking?
Is that yours? Is yours?
Yeah.
It's a ghost.
I've never seen any shadow figures. I've only ever seen one what I think was a ghost. I'm pretty confident it was a ghost. It was too weird for it not to be. But it wasn't a shadow figure. It was a full-on dude. It was very clear. It looked like a hunter sitting on the side of the road. It was really foggy. And he looked like he was a condensed version of the fog. But you could see color. So he was wearing like the red and black checkered hat.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sitting on something. He was real hunched over and he had a white beard. And it looked like an older guy, maybe in his 60s. But I could see him clear as day as I drove by. And then he was just gone. He was sitting right outside these woods. So I don't know. I thought that was probably a spirit because it was just, he wasn't solid.
Was this in Ohio?
No, it was here.
Oh.
It was over on Millfair. Do you know, if you go over the tracks heading north on Millfair towards the lake,
Okay.
on the west side there's that little stretch of trees across from the houses, and it was right in front of that little stretch of trees.
Mm.
He was just sitting there, like right next to the road.
That's weird.
It was weird. That's the only thing I've ever seen as a person that I can recall.
Have you seen anything as an animal?
I saw the bird that came out of my ceiling. That's a story for another day.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one. That's like a good omen, though. That was weird.
Yeah.
I will tell that story someday, but
You said that was connected to an object, right? You think?
no, we don't know. It was just this bird just showed up. But I'll tell you some other day. So we'll relate it to another story, maybe. I have a lot, so there will be more.
Mm-hmm. She's full of information.
What kind of, like, with shadow people, what scares you? Shadow people really freak me out. Sounds kind of give me the heebie-jeebies, but they don't scare
It's
me.
mostly
Shadow
like-
people freak me
I
out.
don't know. A culmination of things. I used to be scared of like everything. Dark, Freddy Krueger, Jason, shit like that. Tornadoes.
Basements.
I was scared of tornadoes. Not like a horror scare. It's kind of just a fight or flight scare kind of thing.
Mhm.
But now it's mostly just paranormal shit.
Yeah, you
I will
really don't
not
like
watch The Conjuring.
So after we made episode 1, his friends came over. And we're sitting there scrolling through Netflix, finding all the horror movies, and he's just sitting there like, so uncomfortable. It wasn't even previews that were playing. It was just legit just looking at that little screenshot and a description, and he was like, you're so funny.
It's not nice.
It's comical. Okay, so tell me your story.
Okay. So I know you say a lot of things about like spirits being attached to objects or just bad happenings being attached to objects. You said there was a dresser you had or something from your grandparents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is about a ship called the SS Alkimos. That's how you say it.
You're too coherent. Drink more.
Huh?
You need to drink
I
more.
can just handle myself.
Never had enough alcohol. Give me your story.
You're a great influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it was a U.S. ship, but it was during World War II. And they were just needing to push these things through production, right?
Mm-hmm.
They needed to make ships as fast as they could. So this one was built in just 10 days. And there were just bad things surrounding this particular ship from the very beginning.
10 days? How do you get a whole ship? Like,
Whole
'cause
ship.
those were not small ships. Those were big
No,
ass ships.
even if it was
in 10 days.
even if it was just like a cruiser or a fighter or something.
There's no quality control in those days.
They needed to fight. But one of the rumors that was going around was that it was being produced so quick that the men and women who were welding this ship got stuck inside of the hull of it because they were pushing it through so fast that these people just got stuck on the inside and slowly died.
Ew, that's fucked up.
I can kind of believe
Did
that.
you look up to see if there was any truth to that story?
I didn't, no, but this
Okay.
story was on quite a few different places, and they had all mentioned a majority of what.
Ew, that's gross.
What had happened.
How awful.
So it was originally under the name of George M. Shriver.
Shriver?
Shriver?
I don't know.
Something good. And it changed to the Vigo Handstein. Apparently became a German ship? I don't know. So it was put into service October of 1943. It was plagued with just technical difficulties. They kept running ashore and everything. So they eventually retired this. And then there was a murder-suicide that took place. There was a radio operator. They had come into a port one night, and there was a radio operator on the ship who murdered just some woman that was from wherever they had docked.
So this is like post World War II. It was it made it through World War II, and then
it was still during World War II, but they had retired the ship before the war had ended.
Oh, it must have been
because
a
there was
ship.
just
There were just so many.
Right.
So he.
So yeah.
murdered-
So, huh?
So he murders a woman.
And then killed himself.
Okay.
So that kind of adds to more of it. So then after the war, they had sold the ship. I forget to who, but it would just keep breaking down. They would sail it around, and it would bust down, and they'd get stuck, and they'd have to get it towed. And they'd sell the ship again, and the next owners would try to fix it up and convert it into a cruise ship or something like that, and it would break down, so they'd sell it again. So there was one where they were going to be taking it to Hong Kong for big repairs. This was going to be the final one.
Is Hong Kong where all the quality ship repairs occur?
Must be.
No, that's news. I didn't know that.
There you go. You learn something every day. It caught fire before it was being towed to Hong Kong. So they still ended up towing it or planned to tow it to Hong Kong, and the ship that towed it broke down. And then they got it to Hong Kong. They got another ship to come out and tow it. And it was the owner of whatever company had bought the ship passed away from some horrific accident.
Mm-hmm.
and then they went on later saying that some other people who were associated with the ship throughout its life had passed away from horrific accidents. And it's just, there's just this bad spirit connected to the ship. Whoever touches it is just doomed.
Wait, so did it tell how some of these other people died, or?
I forget.
No?
I think it did, but yeah, caretakers of the ship. They had, when it broke down one time, it broke down on the sea, and they left people for maintenance just to take care of the ship while it was out there, where they could get a boat to come and tow it.
Oh, did they come back and everybody was dead?
No,
oh,
but
okay,
the people that were on the ship had reported like smells of food and talking coming down from the halls, and screams and
screams,
different knockings coming around, and when there was maybe just a few people on the ship and they weren't cooking anything. So it seemed like there was a presence of other people here, like almost a whole crew, but nobody else was on the boat.
Screams are a big hell no, especially screams like in the distance, and especially you're on a boat. Where's it gonna come from? It's coming from on the boat. It's not coming from out in the water.
Yeah.
You hear a scream. Oh. Ooh, my damn! It just cracked.
You just spit on me too. Okay.
One take, y'all.
One take, y'all. We don't throw no filters or nothing on here.
We're real. Mm-hmm. That hurts.
Touching yourself. We can't even trust it.
It hurt, man. I got all wound up thinking about the screams.
Screams to you in?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. For the show, I've been watching videos on YouTube and stuff. If you guys have any suggestions, please send them to us. We'll put up a link with our email, and we got Twitter and Facebook page and all that good stuff. So send us some good stuff, because it can be hard trying to find it all on your own. If you have any of your own stories, that's good. Or if you have some good links for us to check out, let us know.
For sure.
But so I'm looking at all these stories online, and there was a point reading some of the stuff about Vietnam and down in the tunnels where I physically felt like I would throw up. So, like, oh, I can't.
And I'm the pussy.
Okay, but at least I can still manage to watch this stuff. You can't even look at a screenshot of it. I think that's the story for today.
Yes. Well, I have one more. We can save it.
You have another story?
We can save it.
Is it a war story?
It is a war story.
Ooh.
So this one also takes place in World War II. It was a squadron, or a battalion, a crew.
Yeah, we're a troop.
A troop.
Like Boy Scouts?
Troops.
I don't know.
They were getting one of their badges out in the Swiss Alps. So this was in the winter.
Killing Nazis out in the Swiss Alps, getting a badge.
That kind of sounds familiar.
Got
like
your
that's
Nazi
actually
killing
something.
badge.
So this was in the winter of 1943. A British battalion was stationed in the Swiss Alps. So it was, I don't know if it was an unusually bad winter or not. But phone lines ended up going out of service, and the crew of men they were pretty much cut off from the outside world, as well as the town that they were in. Most of the villagers only spoke German, while most of the troops spoke English, so there was quite a language barrier. And one night these troops had went to one of the local bars, and one of a local there in the bar just starts screaming, where'd all the kids go? Where you take the children? And like, what's going on? So they rounded up a translator, took them back to the base, the translator and this man, and the guy told them that all these small objects started going and disappearing. Axes, just wood, cups, just different things from all over the town. And small children had went missing, 3 of them. Being in the Swiss mountains, you might think maybe one kid gone missing is, while it's tragic, it might not be the weirdest thing. maybe just a wolf grabbed them or something. But when 3 kids go missing, you know something's
These
going
wolves
on.
just randomly come up and grab kids on the regular up in the house.
Yeah, you might think it's a rabbit or something.
It's probably a small town with 3 kids going missing.
Right, like
That's
something's
a
going
lot,
up.
yeah.
Something's going up. So the captain explains that, like, we didn't do anything. We'll keep an eye out. We're going to investigate into this, see what's happening. So they started doing
storing these kids, just
Yeah,
packing
right.
them away.
Putting them under the barracks. So they tell them they'll keep an eye out, and they start sending out nightly patrols. The first night that they do it, a guy from the barracks goes missing, which is even weirder, because if it was, say, an animal or something, maybe they could grab a kid, a defenseless kid, but
Yeah.
an adult is another story.
Yeah.
So they were spooked. They didn't know what was going on. All these objects and people and children started going missing. So they kind of just kept doing the nightly patrols. And then one night there was, I think, 3 of them. They see a person standing outside of a window
Nope.
of an old darkened house.
What if I can tell you about people, shadow figure things?
And this person was looking into this house, so that, it was suspicious to them, right? So they shout for him to stop. Come, we need to talk to you. And the thing just books off, just books it into the woods. So they follow it. They follow it into the woods, and then it eventually leads. It eventually leads them to a cave.
Not a cave. What were we just talking about earlier this week?
Right, that's why I was so excited. I don't know if you saw my grin when you were talking about that. So they ended up getting into a firefight with whatever this thing is. In a cave. And gunfire stops, and after a little while, these troops go into the cave, where they end up finding these missing objects, 7 dead children, the bodies of the children, which were mangled, and grate cheese on that. And then as well as that other troop that went missing, and there was no explanation for it. And the children were eaten. It wasn't just their bodies.
No.
So I'm not going to bore.
Don't ever tell my kids that story. Actually, that might be a really good story to keep them.
Yeah, right? If you don't eat your dinners, this is what's happening.
I'm sicking the cave monster on you. Oh.
The kid monster.
As soon as you said it was standing outside the window, that's the grossest thing when you see it. Because at night, when you have light inside, you can't see anything outside unless it's like right up against the glass.
And it can see,
you can
see everything inside.
Nope.